Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a recap of my time on the new Bravo Zulu rifle from Bushmaster. This is part 2 of 2 of my exploration of the new Bushmaster brand. Part 1 was on their new cans that they released, and I'll have that listed in the description box down below. I'm going to be trying a new format for today's video because, we have to address ever decreasing attention spans. So if you need help navigating around the video, then you can find the chapters listed down below. The Bravo Zulu is the re-entry of Bushmaster into the AR space after being purchased by Franklin Armory. And frankly, I've been excited about this one because I wanted to see what Franklin could do with the brand. This is a 5.56 NATO rifle, and it's built around a 16-inch 1-8 twist barrel set to the midline gas system. The barrel is shrouded all the way up to the last inch or so in M-lock handguard, and that handguard includes ambidextrous QD points at the proximal end of the rail. The rail finishes out with a monolithic flat top done in 1913 rail. The rifle weighs in just over 6 pounds, which is pretty good for these days, and that is due at least in part to the choice of using the Thrill furniture. Under the hood for the operating system, we have an MPI salt bath nitride carrier and bolt, a standard buffer, and their DM2S 2-stage trigger. That should help keep you accurate, and the rifle stays flat shooting with the integration of their Snake Charmer 2-chamber muzzle brake. I had the privilege of testing this rifle over the course of one of the crappiest winters in a while, so adverse testing it is. Whenever we do adverse testing, we want to make sure that it's realistic, and in this test, what we're doing is taking an empty magazine, dropping it on the ground, allowing it to fill with snow, and then putting a loaded magazine in, cycling one round, and replacing it. The idea of this is that that empty follower will push some of that snow up behind the bolt lugs and drag that snow back into the operating components of the lower receiver. And then, of course, hog wild, buried it in the snow. Accuracy. We're going to start out with good old-fashioned 55 grain. This is Fiocchi 223A, and we're shooting at 50 yards. And I don't have a nice sandbag because the sandbag that I usually use is frozen to the ground under a few feet of ice. So I'm just going to use an okay rest. We're going to sit up nice and tall today, I guess. You can see we're having all kinds of problems here today. We've got ice and it's just not a good day to do this, but we're gonna persevere. And luckily we have this long ass barrel here, excessively long 16-inch barrel, arbitrary regulation, and we're just gonna shoot off the camera case here and hope that that does a little bit better. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to abandon accuracy on this today, and then we're going to come back on a day that doesn't suck and try again. So now the wind's picked up, and it's just pushing me all over the place with that light rifle. So it's not fair to the rifle to use today's environmental conditions against it, but I will show you the first 3 shots. You know what, this time of year, we never get any breaks in the Midwest. It's either frickin' cold, raining, or windy as crap, and today we've got like hurricane winds. So we're gonna do our best, and I don't remember where we left off a few days ago when it was really nasty, but all my stuff is kind of sort of dried out, and I've fixed my arrest situation. And so we were shooting 223A, which is 55 grain ammunition, and then we're gonna go up to this after we shoot that initial group, see how the rifle likes the kind of baseline, and then this is 77 grain match. Moving over to 77 grain, and these are loaded with Sierra Match Kings. Now, as you guys might have noticed, we had some problems with the accuracy testing because, you know, environmental factors and things like that. And then here's the thing. We don't reshoot groups here. But because there were so many environmental factors stacked against this rifle, I decided to give it a second chance. And here's the thing, it didn't really improve all that much. I've passed guns on 3.5 MOA before. Most of those are 308s. This one's sitting right around 2, and it's totally acceptable for me. The one thing I did want to note is that this gun totally stabilizes 77 grain. Look at the holes on the close-up. These are nice round holes. There's no destabilization there, and the group did shrink between 55 and 77, so it can stabilize basically the range of 5.56. I mentioned previously that this gun is a mid-length gas system gun, which lends itself to suppression, but I also noticed it has a carbine buffer in it, and it's running quite well with that carbine buffer in it, so I don't know what voodoo magic they did to make that thing run so well, but of course I have to tear into it and figure out if it'll run suppressed. So to do that, we're going to stick a 5.56 can, their Muta can, on the end of it, and a 30 caliber can, which is not their can, to see how it operates. And to do that, for analysis, we're going to stack it up against the rifle speed gas control. You guys have seen that thing before. If you haven't, I'll have a video linked in the description box down below so you guys can catch yourself up to speed. But the idea is we're going to undergas that rifle, normal gas that rifle, and overgas that rifle. And see where the Bravo Zulu stacks up suppressed and unsuppressed in all of those states. Bravo Zulu normal. Bravo Zulu 5.56 can. Bravo Zulu 30 cal can. And all I can say about this is it defies the laws of physics. It looks to me like it's right in the center, maybe a small increase in the suppressed state, but nothing that would be deleterious to its operation. So I don't know what kind of sacrifices they're making. But in all seriousness, if we analyze some of the cartridge cases, we can see that there are no perceptible impact marks on both the neck and the mouth of the cases, which would indicate heavy ejection. And then the other thing that I really like to check for is any firing pin smear at the primer pocket. I don't see anything, and that seems to be a good indicator to me. Critiques. Before we say anything in this section, I want to preface this by saying that this gun is well executed. Nothing I'm about to say should be used to construe that this gun is not a good gun. I'm just saying that I'm going to point out a few things that if Bushmaster chooses to listen and make a future iteration of this rifle, that there are some small changes that they could make that would push to the next level. So, again, a preface. I have softened my position on exterior anti-rotation tabs. Those are tabs of aluminum that come off of the rail and then basically create an interference with the upper receiver so that the rail cannot rotate. It seems to me that there are a lot of manufacturers out there that aren't doing this anymore, and they found more creative ways to integrate this same desire without having those big tabs. So good on different manufacturers for doing that sort of thing. I'm still quite partial to having multiple redundancies. But this does not have anti-rotation tabs, and it's okay as long as it has some other kind of anti-rotation capabilities. Now, this thing does, but I want to say that I think they could do it a little bit better. What I see here are two set screws that basically go down into the barrel nut. And that means that it relies on the aluminum of the rail around those screws. And I would like to see that turn into some kind of torque plate that basically takes a piece of steel and puts it against the piece of steel. Is this adequate? Yeah, it's probably fine. But whenever I see aluminum sandwiched around a piece of steel with just two set screws kind of holding it in place, I'm a little bit suspicious, but it never walked on me in testing. So I can't really point to any definitive data that it's a problem, but if they start seeing problems, then they should go to something with a torque plate. Continuing with the rail, I do like their serrations right here. They probably act as lightning cuts and also a place to grip it. The only thing is those are right over top of the hottest part of the rail. That part of the rail is also really sharp right here. And I know that's me kind of being a sissy, but because there are no exterior anti-rotation tabs there that bevel up against the upper receiver, if you're running this gun really hard, particularly if you're doing stuff offhanded really, really fast, really easy to cut yourself there. So That's just a byproduct of eliminating those anti-rotation tabs. I mentioned that there are QD points here at the front of the rail. Excellent, good job. What I like less are the QD points located back here, because while there are 2 of them, they're mounted into plastic and they're reliant solely on the integrity of the stock, which I'm not saying it's a bad stock, it's just that they're mounted in plastic, and I've never liked trusting that sort of stuff. I prefer a ring, forged ring, here at the back. Now, they have chosen to put a standard plate on it, and here's the thing. As someone who's built rifles commercially before, it is literally 80 cents difference between this piece and a forged sling ring. So, put a forged sling ring on it, please. The rifle is not staked at the castle nut. It didn't come loose or anything like that, and it does look like there is some locking yes, there is indeed some locking compound on there. I would still like to see that staked. And then the last thing, I don't know how else to say this other than, like, this one's 100% opinion. I have no data to back this up whatsoever. I just don't like 2-stage triggers. Okay, I think that I used to really like them, but then as my round count on single-stage triggers rose, I gravitated more towards single-stage triggers just because they have a different cadence to them. They operate differently. I know that you can get a lower trigger pull weight with a 2-stage trigger. Cool. If that's really what you're after, then that's fine. But given that this is a 2 MOA gun, I don't have a use for a two-stage trigger in it. I would like to see Bushmaster concentrate on a really nice single-stage trigger to offer alongside the 2-stage, because we know that they can make it, given their heritage with Franklin. So let's see them execute on that. Personally, I can leave this 2-stage trigger just because I just don't like them. It's just, again, personal preference. Your mileage may vary. I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. And special thanks to all the people who helped make today's video possible, including our patrons on Subscribestar and Patreon, whose names you should see on screen right now.